Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
We need your help, Star Angel. Fox's ship has been demolished. We need another Arwing constructed immediately.
Consider it done, General. I'll have the vessel completed in no time.
Good luck.
Okay, before we get started, real quick, this is a call out to YOLO Swagger 3K. You are a DeviantArt user. At least that's what I know, because all I have for your contact information is your DeviantArt username. I sent you a note on DeviantArt letting you know your turn came up, but I have not received a reply. So, if you watch my videos, then yeah, keep that in mind. I don't know if you actually checked, because it looks like you don't really have a gallery there. You probably just made your gallery so that you could contact me, but yeah, like if you chose to contact me through the DeviantArt gallery instead of through email, so that's all I got going. So yeah, get back to me on that, or use the email, whichever one comes first. Alright, now, on to the actual commission. Once again, going all out, this is Captain Fedora asking me for something unique and interesting that I've never really done before. And it is an Arwing from Star Fox. Mostly we're doing it based off of the way that it looked in Nintendo 64, or rather like the version that would have been cameoing in Smash Brothers, because that's like a more high-resolution version of the N64 thing. So yeah, mission accepted. Let's do this. It's so rare that I get to make vehicles. Like, I was excited for this. And all things considered, it came together pretty quick. Once I started working on it, it was done in less than a week. Alright, so now here's an interesting thing. Aside from the little tiny Micro Machine sized Arwing that comes packed with the Fox and Falco figures and stuff, like, there's almost no official toys of this iconic vehicle from one of the great Nintendo canons. Even though there's only 7 games, and the last one was pretty much utterly unplayable. Yes, as far as I'm aware, the only real toy of the Arwing is the special Arwing that you got for the Switch version of Starlink. One of those Toys to Life video games. You know, kind of like the whole Skylanders thing, except you scan spaceships instead of little monsters. Yeah, it's yeah, I didn't buy the game, so I don't really have this, but yeah, like, as far as I'm aware, that's the only one, and it doesn't really look true to any of the games of the Star Fox games. It looks like a Starlink ship with design inspirations of an Arwing. It doesn't properly look like a real Arwing, is what I'm trying to get at. So that is what I'm going to correct here. We are going to make a real Arwing. Alright, so the base is the V-Wing Starfighter from Star Wars Clone Wars continuity. Isn't it funny? I'm turning the V-Wing into the R-Wing. I'm pretty sure the naming convention was actually based off of Star Wars stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure the R-Wing itself has naming inspiration from the X-Wing, which, you know, is Star Wars. But I digress. Taken out of the packaging, the V-Wing has 2 modes. It has the landed mode, or perhaps like a high-speed mode where you fold everything back and it's nice and sleek. And then it has its actual battle mode where the sides open up. And I think it was supposed to be somewhat evocative of like a proto-TIE fighter. Like these things in the sides are supposed to look like the big solar panels that TIE fighters have. But in reality, this just kind of makes the toy very difficult to display in this mode, because now it isn't able to stand straight, and it didn't come with a flight stand. So yeah, like, you can hold it in your hand and go swishy swishy, but, you know, like, displaying it is actually pretty awkward in this mode. But whatever, we're going to dismantle it. But first, I wanted to address the tiny little figures that this thing comes with. Yeah, there's a clone trooper and an astromech droid that come with this particular ship. And At barely 3/4 of an inch tall, this is actually one of the smallest figures that I will customize. Because of course, I had to turn this thing into Fox. Like, I didn't give him a tail because then he wouldn't be able to sit in the ship without me having to drill an extra hole and will probably just break off anyway. But I did make the little fox muzzle and the ears. If it looks a little bit crude, you gotta remember, this head is literally the size of a pinhead. Like, this thing isn't a choking hazard because it's too small for a child to choke on. A kid will just plain swallow this. With a little bit of a paint job, you can see that it actually, looks half decent. I mean, green pants, the red highlight for the bow tie. I left a little bit of the clone trooper armor to be his vest, or, jacket in this case. Didn't want to go too overboard because, this thing is really, really, really tiny. And as you can see, yeah, no tail. He wouldn't be able to sit in the cockpit otherwise. Alright, so now that the smallest figure that I've ever customized is out of the way, let's get to making the ship. First thing, there's a screw that I could undo in the middle of the hull, which allowed me to take off the side pods, although I would have to use clippers to cut off the wings on top. And play. He sent me some 3D models of the Arwing, but I decided, I was really hyped about this, and instead of going through, asking, Corey to modify the models to be printable for me or editing them like that, I wanted to make my own. So I mocked them up and drew them up in Tinkercad, like the blue pylons, and yes, that is printed with some blue filament. My cousin Raven gave me a 4-pack that had different colors, and this blue filament was one of them. And the extension to the back of the hull is all printed from the hull attaches onto the back of the ship this wise, right behind the cockpit, which gives it more of that Arwing silhouette. Now, this model is publicly available on Tinkercad, and the shape on the inside of this is actually designed to slot onto the top of this specific ship. So theoretically, you can print out my models and actually do this for yourself. All you need is the, base toy. Pods on the side, the Arwing has 2 modes. It has, its default mode, and then there's the more popular mode where you got the upgrade and you can shoot 2 lasers. So, we're going with that, because, you're gonna see I did some really cool stuff for this one, but finding a way to make the pods open to reveal the guns was a little bit beyond my engineering talents. So, I just, cut off the little wings, on the little gun turrets and sanded the top and bottom flat, which would give me something to attach the pylons to. And don't worry, they're not just glued on there so that they can easily snap off. I actually drilled holes, right, so they're held on there. They have a genuine peg holding them in place. And with that, we have the bipods with the guns, and then simply reattaching them to the side of the plane the way that they were attached before. And that's, how you get your Arwing. Now, this would be the Arwing after you've taken severe damage and your wings have broken off, but, we're not, we're not gonna leave it at that. We're gonna actually make the wings. And this is where things get special. Because you see, I actually mocked up the wings and how they would attach to the Arwing myself so that they would be articulated, so that they would be swept back for the default flight mode and come outwards for all range mode. Yes, I actually went that far for this, and it is something that I am particularly proud of. In fact, I'm so proud of it that I'm going to show you this. The 3 phases of first is a cardboard mock-up, which I used to make sure I got the size and shapes right so that they would fit on the body. The middle one is cut from foam board so that I could actually get some depth and make sure that the engineering of it worked, that I could move it around on the plane without actually catching anything. And then the third one is a 3D print of the model of the wing that I made myself in Tinkercad. And in addition to the little triangular part of the hull, which attaches to the pylons at a very specific angle. As you can see in this picture, they're attached at an angle, not straight, to create the very look of the wings. And yes, the peg hole that's in the wing itself is actually cut at just the right angle so that the wings will still look natural at this angle. Yeah, I put a lot of thought into this. And once I figured out that they were attached and they were the right size and proportion and that they could move and articulate exactly how I wanted to, I made a bolt. This is just the 3D printed thing again. I made a bolt which is narrower than the peg that attaches the wings, drilled into the peg so I could stick the bolt in and glue it in place and put it on there to make sure that the wings won't accidentally fall off. So yes, now the wings are attached, they're mushroom capped into place, and we had us a bona fide R-wing with actual articulated wings. And it was a little bit back heavy. When I set it down, the weight of the wings would pull the nose up so it wouldn't sit flat on the landing gear. So I at first I was going to resign myself to this fact until I remembered the R-wing doesn't have just a regular tapered nose. It actually has like a little gun in the middle of the nose cone, like the primary gun. And if I made that, it could be a counterbalance to the wings. This is the core of the gun. It's a bolt with 3 nuts on it, which provided the extra weight that I would need to counterbalance the wings. And then I simply sculpted over it and painted it. And it doesn't look quite as elegant and sleek as it does in the video game model, but, you know, like, it's kind of a stopgap measure to make sure the plane can actually set properly on its landing gear and primarily and not actually part of the whole decorative thing. Anyway, so that was the baseline R-wing. And yes, I did paint on all the details. I kind of glossed over that because all the fun in this is in the engineering that I did because, you know, I am the engineer. That is the R-wing. As you can see, you can have the wings swept back or you can splay them out for the full-on all-range mode. And Fox does look very nice sitting in the cockpit. I couldn't really figure out anything for the astromech droid to do because the place where the astromech droid is supposed to slot in is now covered by the back of the hull. But whatever. Let us reveal the R-wing in all of its glory. Yes, you could see, like, from all angles, like, it has the look. Everything is in place. I know the engine placement may not be exactly the same, but hey, this is customized from a different toy. The point is, if you pull back and look at it, it actually has the R-wing's proper proportions. That long nose, the big wide wingspan, the fact that everything is like really slim and sleek on this thing. It looks so great. I wish I didn't have to send it to Captain Fedora. I want to keep it for myself. It's so cool. Low-key, I've always wanted one of these things. I used to make these things out of paper and cardboard when I was a little kid. Full disclosure, Star Fox 64 was my first Nintendo game. It's not the first one I ever played, but it's the first one I ever owned. Because I won my Nintendo 64 in an essay contest when I was in the 7th grade, and my school principal, who encouraged me to enter that contest in the first place, he found out that there was no actual demo game or anything that came with the console, so he actually bought me this game. Well, you know, like, I went to a store and bought it, and then he reimbursed me for it. But yeah, he paid for my very first official Nintendo game that I would own, and it was Star Fox 64. And yes, that actually made me so happy. Like, you know, like, aside from the rest of the year, that was kind of a dumpster fire because I was a victim of relentless bullying for the entire time I was in middle school. But hey, this was a nice high point. So yes, thank you all for watching, Captain Fedora. That's quite the thing we did here. And yeah, I'm gonna let you guys out. This is Wake Angel 2001 signing off.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic the Hedgehog. Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wake Angel 2001. Because between you and me, they're way past cool.